Hello and welcome to another edition of the LaLanne Pass It On podcast.
Wait a minute. You're not going to be the co-host today. I've got another co-host coming up, and you're going to be the interviewee, and we're going to ask you all about your Ninja Warriors. And there was one fellow that was there, I know, the very time you did it. We're going to ask him a question. He's going to be the co-host today, and it's Dan Isaacson. And he was actually there, and he's worked with Tom Hanks and then all the big stars, John Travolta, Billy Crystal, and he's one of the first personal trainers, if not the first. So I want to introduce to you right now, Dan Isaacson. Ta-ta!
Hey, great to be here. I
So
love
Dan,
it.
you're going to be my co-host today,
Thank
and
you.
we're going to ask Greg all about the Ninja Warriors. But first of all, I want to know all about what prompted you to go over in the middle of the night. I understand. Tell me about the middle of the night. Now
Oh yeah, no, when
does
I
that
found
intrigue everybody, the middle of the night?
out. Well, it's interesting. It's something that LaLanne, LaLanne taught me, and that's be there for your friends. And when I heard that he was going to do that, it's a 3-hour drive. I said, I'm going. And so I called him and said, can I get in? Yeah, we'll get your name on it. That's great. And I got there and had some time in the room, got a chance to say a prayer, shake his hand, grab him, love him. And I was so honored to be there with his sons. They were there with me. We hung out for a long time because people don't realize that's a shoot. I don't think he actually shot his show or his performance until it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. So
Yes, that's what I couldn't believe that. I had visions of it being done during the day, and then when
I
I
did too.
it was in the middle of the night, like 2 in the morning or something.
Well,
I
you'll
thought,
love
oh,
this. So
he's
I
gotta
was
be
there. It was
pooped
about
out.
when he was done at like 4:30 in the morning. So it was 5. And I said, well, I'm just going to drive home. So I never did sleep.
Well, anyway, okay, shoot with the first question.
Well, I think the first question, is the obvious. This is a 17th year of the Ninja Warrior show. It's an iconic show, tremendous success. And now he's on national TV, television, millions of people watching. I got to ask you, after you now have seen your performance on TV, and we've all seen it, what did you feel like when you're out there?
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled and honored to be here with two of my favorite people. Thank you so much for doing this. And I love sharing my experiences with others because it furthers the message that the three of us are certainly trying to get out to the world. And that is Jack's mission, furthering Jack's mission of helping people help themselves. So thank you two for flipping the script and interviewing me today. That's very kind.
Well,
Dan.
you're a legacy too,
Oh,
That's
well,
right.
I'm just furthering the legacy. I'm just an extension of Jack's legacy, and we're passing it on like we were told to do, pass it on, and that's what we're doing. But to be honest with you, Dan, it was so much fun because we had a watch party at my gym. And we had family, we had friends, we had clients, we had almost my entire small group from my church group that I attend on Monday night, and the show was on Monday night, so it was kind of an extension of that. And it was so wonderful to go. In my private training gym, we have 4 different rooms. So we have people and TVs going in every room. And I was just going from room to room, talking to people, loving on people. And it was an amazing feeling because we shot the episode, as you know from personal experience, Dan, about 9 months ago, back in September of 2024. And so I had to be quiet for the last 9 months about how it all went down and all the behind the scenes stuff, which I'm excited to share with you all today. Um, but being able to be with friends and family and clients, people that just were excited for me and
Yeah.
for us furthering the
Now,
mission, it was a
what do you think
blessing.
some of those clients, you've trained a lot of these clients now. what message do you think that gives to them? I mean, that really says, maybe if they weren't just quite doing something, what kind of a message do you think it brought to them, or has anybody said anything?
Well, I think, oh yeah, I've gotten so many. In fact, I was up until past 12:30 a.m.
Oh,
Past
somebody,
midnight answering calls and texts and messages, and it was I loved every minute of it. But I think, Elaine, what it said to them, so many of my clients have been with me for 35 or more years as clients. So they know what I stand for. They know the mission and the quest that I'm on, and that is certainly to further Jack's legacy. And I live that legacy and I preach that legacy. And what that legacy is about helping people help themselves and knowing that age is not a limitation. It doesn't mean that once you hit a certain age, 50, 60, 70, that life is over, that the best years can be in front of you, because, like Jack said, anything is possible if
yeah.
you make it happen.
Well, do you notice any of your clients giving a little more oomph in their workouts?
Well, I think through
On
the
there.
process, once I was accepted to be on the show, once I did the show, and once we had had discussions throughout the show, I've seen a little bit of a pickup in their motivation level. So I think it really served a greater purpose even than what I had intended originally, just to extend or pass on Jack's legacy. I think that they're now seeing it through me, and now me passing it on to them. And I think they're pushing a little bit harder.
Dan, I think you've got another
Yeah,
question.
tell me, I'm really curious about you're there on the stage now, and how do you focus? I mean, I was at when David Wells threw the perfect game and then with the New York Yankees and years ago. I was there, happened to be there, and you see the pitcher pitch a perfect game. How do you focus? What's going through your mind? Because Jack LaLanne did this better than anyone I've seen. When he could focus like could probably see through a wall. But how do you focus?
Well, that's an interesting question, because what people don't see is the behind the scenes activity that goes on leading up to getting on that stage. And Dan, you'll know this, but many people won't, because all they see is the bright lights of the stage and then my run. But I had been up for 26 straight hours when I got up on that stage.
Wow.
And there were times in that athlete's tent where, it was uncomfortable. You're in the middle of the desert, right? You're in Las Vegas. It's a big tent, and the floor is the desert. And so there were people that had been there many times. Some of the athletes had performed
Wow.
multiple times. So they knew to bring an air mattress so that they could lay down, get comfortable, rest.
Wow,
Well, I was
that's tough.
on the desert ground, on the floor. That was my
Wow.
is my comfort. And there were times I can vividly remember where my mindset was like, this isn't what you signed up for. This is miserable. I'm tired. And
Wow.
then I was able to harness some of that energy of Jack LaLanne, and knowing that, yes, this is exactly what you signed up for. Embrace this part of it, because the other part on the other end will make all of this worth it. And I think about Jack, how he went through the process of his preparation to get ready for some of those swims.
Yeah.
The mindset that he had, that switch that he had to change over to go into that, oh, it's cold, to I love the cold. And I was able to switch that
Wow.
lever in my mind.
I love cold water. I love cold water. That's what
Exactly.
Jack said in his notes
Exactly.
in the book.
Well, and I
Wow.
remember that because I can, at a moment, once I was going down that rabbit hole of negativity, being able to flip that switch and saying, this is exactly what you signed up for. You have prepared, you are as ready as you will ever be to get up on that stage and do what you were meant to do. And so when I got up on the stage and had been awake for 26 consecutive hours,
Wow, I didn't know that.
the first
I don't I don't think people realize,
I didn't
and
know
I
that.
didn't. I mean, I just think you go off and do your thing, but behind the scenes, which we're talking about now, that I mean, you're up for 26 hours and then doing your, being Tarzan, as I call him Tarzan. I mean, it's just incredible, I think.
Well, I mean, obviously there was some adrenaline going, but really what fired me up is when I got up on the stage, the first thing that flashed up on the screen, and you'll remember this, Dan, was Elaine's lovely
Right.
face.
Of course.
And she gave me that pep talk about Jack visualizing all of his feats of strength and endurance and seeing himself at the end. And she just gave me that pep talk before I was ready to go. And then my friends that were watching it live in Kansas City came up on the screen. And then I looked down to my left, down at the base of the stage, and I saw my two boys, David and Kel, and I saw Dan, and I saw some of my ninja friends that
Yeah.
were there to cheer me on, and it put a big smile on my face. The buzzer started to beep. I clapped my hand a little bit, and in my head, I just said, Greg, you were built for this. And I put a smile on my face, and I just went down that path. And I got to tell you, it was more fun than a grown man should be allowed to have. And I wish for that feeling of joy for every one of my friends because it truly was a special, special memory.
But
And I
Dan, you
loved
were
every minute.
there. You've got, is there something else you wanted?
Well, yeah, on that moment in time, because I did not know that the 26 hours either, Lala. I think what's really important for everybody as a takeaway here is that not only when you focus, as he has to do, and the things we just talked about, but then you have the encouragement, that last minute encouragement, whatever that is, could be a thought in your mind. But we have such power as human beings. We have a collective number of ages here, and age is just a number, as we know. It's not that's how you feel.
Yeah,
And
wait
what
till
you
you get
do
to
with
be
it.
my age, 99.
That's
Actually, I
what we're
added up
all
all.
aspiring to be.
I actually added up all our ages together, and we're about 12 years less than 250, I think it was. So the point of it is, America, we're all here, and at any day, our bodies are genetic suitcases. We have all kinds of little compartments we can pull out of, and as we age, just have different compartments to pull out. And what Greg did more than ever was what he just talked about. He had positioned his family and friends and his rock, which is you and Jack, and that legacy. And yeah, so then all of a sudden the outcome is what it is. And I think, and we'll get to that conversation, but there's letdowns, but the bottom line is you're a hero before you start. The confidence of 100.
And he's the oldest. I mean, that they brought that out, and I got a kick out of it. They were saying, he's the oldest one.
I know, I know, I know. The announcers are great. That show's fantastic.
He's 63 years old.
Yeah. Hey, and I want to say another little thing because 2 years before that, Lala, we were at the IDEA conference when Billy Blanks got the Jack LaLanne Award.
Yes.
And Greg was there on crutches. People forget that he was on crutches.
He had fallen and broken his ankle.
That's correct. And I remember that day because we were together. We always are for the Jack LaLanne Award with you. Thank you so much. Is that he hobbled around. He got in every picture, never made one complaint, never said, I got to rest. He was like the first in, the first out. He goes, I'm amazing. So I want to, again, paralleling Jack as an example is big reason why we're here is that that's the message, move forward. If you can crawl, crawl. If you can crawl, crawl. If you can walk, walk, walk. If you can run, run. Go give what you have the best.
Yeah. So,
anyway, that's the only thing to add on to that.
Are you planning to do this again, Tarzan?
Well, it's funny because I've had that question asked a lot, almost like, well, this was the grand finale. And I look at them and I say, what do you mean? I'm just a 64-year-old rookie at this sport. I'm just getting started. And the beauty of it is, I'm ready. If they called me while this interview was going on, I'd have to excuse myself and head right back to Las Vegas and do it tomorrow if they'd let me. Because this is what I hope is the first of many times that I get to do that. Because I really believe in my heart of heart, and I believed it that night, that I was going to hit the buzzer at the end of that run. I honestly had visualized that,
Well, that's good.
and
That's
I'm
the
going to
only
hit a
way
buzzer because that's the goal for me.
That's why you got farther than anybody else in your category, right?
Yeah, I
You had
felt fortunate. You know,
So
I slipped on the balance obstacle. I missed the spinning log, the second one that threw me into the third log, and went down earlier than I had anticipated, than I expected. But honestly, falling is not failure. You know,
no one isn't.
it's
My
just a
gosh, you
lesson.
are a hero. Everybody. I
Right.
mean,
I'm
there
not a hero. No, I'm not
Henry
I
did
don't look
is
at it like that as being a hero, but I take that as a lesson. And honestly, I'm ready. Now now I have seen what I've done because I knew how it ended, but I hadn't seen it until everyone else did on national television. So I didn't know the misstep that I took. I didn't know why I went down until I've now analyzed it and I see the errors of my ways and I can correct that through that visualization process and practice. So now I know what I did wrong and how I can correct it.
so
What
you're
would you say, Greg, what would you say, Greg, to someone who sees that and says to themselves, I couldn't do that? Meaning that how do you get beyond that in life? That feeling that, and we all have it at times. I don't think that's not, I couldn't do that. But what do you tell someone?
Well, I think just like Henry Ford said many, many years ago, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. It's what you decide in your head you can and can't do, right? So if you tell yourself you can't do something, then you're right, you can't because you've told yourself and you've blocked out the ability to get over or beyond that. But like Jack always said, if you can visualize yourself doing it, anything is possible. If you make
speaking of
it
Henry
happen.
Ford, if Jack were here today, he would say, Henry Ford got people on their seats. I get them off their seats.
That's right. Yeah. No, I
That's
think it's just
great.
limiting yourself, Dan, to answer the question. You know, if you limit yourself and believe you can't do something, then you're right, you can't do it. But you've got to open the world, you know, have an open mindset of being willing to learn and try.
Also, on that line, Greg, after you were done and it didn't come out the way you thought it would, how did you rebound? That's the other thing. I'd focus and the preparation and then the rebound. How do you not go into that fear, doubt, shame, woulda, coulda, shoulda, ruminating thought? How do you quickly, because this will help everyone who's listening to this podcast, how do you rebound so rapidly with the fire and mercy and grace to go forward?
Well, I think as much as anything, it's a mindset, and you can either go down the road of why me or what now? And I choose to say, okay, here's what happened. What now? What do you do? How do you go forward? And that was easy for me. You know, I did the post dunk interview. And if you'll see over my shoulder here, you'll see this wonderful red towel. That
Yeah.
was the souvenir that I took away from falling into that water. So I got a nice little red American Ninja Warrior towel. And then there's my shirt and
Oh, I love your shirt.
that I wore. And you'll
Love
see
nutrition.
that number 361. I'll give you a little insight on that. The first number is the episode number you're on. So I was on the third episode. That's the number 3. And then the number 61 behind it. I was the 61st runner that evening. That's why
Oh,
it took it to 4
well,
a.m.
that's
when
why
I
I took
actually
it
got
into
on
the
the
middle.
stage.
Do they go all night?
Yes,
Do
they
they go
start.
all night?
Yep.
They go all evening and all night, or all
Yes,
day and
and
all night? How many
yeah,
people do they have on there?
there were about 70 people in my group. And the reason, Elaine, is because they like to shoot against the black night sky for dramatic effects. And so they start
Oh,
shooting at about 7:30 or 8 in the evening, and then they shoot until the sun starts to come up, and then
oh,
they
how
shut it down.
interesting.
That's great. Can you think of any other things that people wouldn't expect or know of what you experienced? Because I find this fascinating, the time you had to do. I thought you had just gotten to the hotel and you're ready to go. I didn't know you were 26 hours into it.
Yeah,
So,
I was awake because, you know, I'm an early riser. As you know, I get up at 3 a.m. every day.
Yes.
And so in Las Vegas, it's an hour earlier. So I woke up at 2 a.m. Las
oh,
Vegas
wow.
time, we met at the bus at the hotel at 5 p.m. that same day when I got up at 3 a.m. We went over and did the walkthrough of the course. I had never been on any of those obstacles before, and the grand
Wow.
scale
Didn't know
of
that
those
either.
obstacles is so massive, you have no idea.
That I remember.
And you don't get to practice. People don't, I think that's one of the things, Dan, people don't realize.
Wow,
You don't
that's
get to
really
practice.
interesting.
You just have to close your eyes and visualize. And so, having never done any of those before, I felt pretty good about my performance overall. I believe deep in my heart, had I made it past that balance obstacle, that I would have cleared the rest of the course. But you know what? That's woulda, coulda, shoulda, and next time.
How
Yeah,
about food? How about
well,
food and
that's
drink and other things? How'd you prepare physically?
Well, I eat I'm a clean eater. I follow a lot of Jack's principles. I actually work with a clinical nutritionist because as we age, I think it's important to make sure that we know our bodies and know the fuel that actually, helps our bodies to be better. And every body is a chemistry experiment. Things that may be good for me may not be good for you or you. So I think it's important to know your body and your chemistry and know what foods serve your body and what foods don't. So I've always been aware of that, and I want to make sure that my body performs at its highest level. Now, my highest level may not be what an Olympic athlete's highest level is. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about my highest level of performance, and that's what I'm trying to attain.
Wow.
Hey, Jan, did you wear your hat?
Well, of course I wore my hat, but also just I want to share with everyone here. I have this is my shirt that I wore. Greg last night, when I was there, he gave me two shirts. So this will be the shirt next year, which is the light blue that I will wear.
Well,
And this is
I'm
and
gonna
then
put
this is
my
the
hat
reason,
on, Jack
this is
LaLanne.
Lala, and this is the reason we do it.
About a legacy. What do you think about a legacy, Greg? Of your legacy.
Yeah.
What are you up
Well,
to with your legacy?
that's one of those things that ultimately you don't have control of is your legacy. I mean, all you can do is put your best foot forward, and really legacy is an extension of your work. And so
Yes,
whatever legacy that people may see Greg creating is truly nothing more than an extension of the LaLanne
work you're
legacy.
doing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, what we're doing is furthering the message and the mission of
yeah,
Jack. And it's such a simple mission,
yeah.
helping people help themselves through exercise and proper nutrition.
I don't
It's not
I
rocket
don't
science.
think Jack ever thought about legacy.
Yeah,
I never thought about legacy.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden that's the latest stuff, the
yeah.
legacy,
It's
giving
just
a
about
legacy.
it's whatever again, legacy is going to happen through what the people you have inspired, right? So Jack inspired Dan, Jack inspired me. And that's why we're passing on, because he told us, whatever you've learned from me, I don't want anything in return other than for you to pass it on. That's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
that's right.
It's interesting, Greg. I think in all these in the year of biohackers, it's interesting. I made this comment to Lala not long ago because everyone's talking about cold plunges and red light therapies, and it's all great. And we're going into a new beginning. But I laughed about the ice bath because 40 years ago we had an ice bath in my club that I was a member or worked at in Aspen, Colorado. Cold plunges. They've been around for years. And Elaine said, yes, she used to bring in ice from the ice house to ice down Jack's bath before he did his events.
Yeah, he sat in that tub with the 50 pounds of ice. I'd pour over,
Right.
and he'd sit there and then that's before his 60th birthday swim. Then he
No,
goes,
that's my point is that with all this going on, how are you going to prepare for the next time, Greg? Is there certain things that people would like to know? I think as your impact's so great, speaking of impact, our great friend Todd Durkin makes that comment all the time. You've had a great impact. What's the impact for your future and how are you going to train for it?
Well, one thing, again, because I've learned from my mistakes, I'm going to work on my stride length and balance. That's where I fell, is on the balance. I didn't have any problem with the big laches and the big jumps. I did those just fine. I just need to work on my foot placement on those spinning logs. And so again, if you make a mistake, learn from it. Don't beat yourself up, move on. And that's what I'm prepared to do, is to learn from it and be better prepared next time.
Yeah,
Was it
interesting,
hard?
Greg.
Was it hard to hold on to that great
Wow, good
thing?
question. Yeah.
That's what bothered me. I mean, those little things that they
Mhm.
had little places in the middle, and how to hold on to that great big thing.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, Elaine, what I did there was the easiest thing because I had worked so hard in preparing for it. So in other
Oh,
words, the hard part was done in the gym leading up to that. Doing that was actually easier than I thought because
really?
I was so prepared.
Wow. I
Oh,
still find what's interesting about it, I'm big believer in focus first and then balance, because our eyes give us 60, 70% of all our information. We still have four other senses, but I'm still fascinated how you're able to really focus in on that. And then you now know what you need to do related to your stride length. And you can, in your own mind, as we were talking about Jack and visualizing, you can do that again to make it really work. And I think that's so important for the future. What else are you going to do to prepare?
Well, again, I'm going to, as much as anything, I'm going to work on extra balance obstacles because again, that was where I went down, and I will tell you the impact on that third spinning log. I hit that so hard that it was a weird sensation because I felt like two things happened at one time that are totally contradictory. I felt like I hit hyper speed and slow motion at the same time because the impact on that log was on my ribs, which I was sore for 3 weeks after that. My ribs were sore. I impacted that at such a rate. And then what I didn't realize is it spun me upside down and I went into the water head first. I didn't know that until I saw it on television, but it felt like I was underwater for 30 minutes.
really?
Yeah, it knocked the
Wow.
wind out of me, so it kind of scared me at first. It startled me, it spun me back, put me head first in the water,
Wow.
and then it's like I felt like I was just drowning because I was underwater. It felt like an eternity, and my glasses flew off, so I was a little disoriented when I came back up. But then when
Mhm.
I got up to the top and I took a breath, and it's like, okay, I'm hurt, but I'm not harmed. So
Yeah.
I smiled and I gave him the thumbs up. It's like, I'm okay, I'm okay. And then I swam over and did the post run interview. And I will tell you, the first thing that came to mind was Jack's. It's my favorite quote. Jack has so many amazing quotes. But my favorite one, and I said this in the post run interview, I said, your health account and your bank account are the same. The more you put in, the more you can take out. And then I said, and tonight I took out a big withdrawal.
He was full of those sayings. Jack was not, he didn't go into a lot of detail. He wanted to get the point over, like bang, life is great when you're in shape, and all of his little sayings. Your bank account and your health account are, synonymous. So those
Well, I
are
think what's really interesting too, Lala, is that he has all we're talking about with because it's fascinating all these background parts of the story I had no idea about and I was there is how do you really take what you have and give it the best you got? And as we age, particularly at any age, you start to things change and you have to always have that resilience. And Lala, you've been a mentor to me in that space. To you keep percolating along. My mom used to say, "Bloom where you're planted, and go onward and upward." And that's probably the greatest takeaway I've ever had from this conversation. Also, I want to ask you because if you wanted to say thank you to the Ninja Warrior folks, what would you thank them for with your
I,
experience?
well, first and foremost, I would thank them for the opportunity. Second, I would thank them for the amazing segment that they did honoring the legacy of Jack and Elaine.
Yes, I
totally
mean
agree.
that
It was 4 full minutes on
yeah.
legacy of the LaLanne brand. I mean, that was on national television and it ran twice. It ran on, last Monday night and then it ran again on Sunday. So really 8 minutes on primetime television talking about the legacy of Jack and Elaine LaLanne.
And that bumped our Pride and Discipline book up,
The number one on
Then
Amazon.
people, if they would read that book, Pride and Discipline, it's almost like what you're doing, what the determination that Jack had to do all of his feats, not just, and at 70 years old, tow 70 boats with 70 people in the boats, a mile
Right.
and a half, handcuffed, and your feet are shackled, and so how does he do that? He goes, like this, and for a mile and a half. And the boats got, they were supposed to line the boats up, 70 boats up so that he could pull them out. Well, they got all caught up, so he went like a half hour more than he was to do it. It took him a lot longer to do that feat, and it was really. But he wasn't, as he would say, I wasn't suffering from pooped out itis. So
I
Well,
wish all, I wish all of America could listen to this and understand that fitness world is baby boomer generations and the generations before really brought us to this place. And it's time for us to reflect on what was there and pass it on. And because we can be
yeah,
the best we can be. And again, Greg, you are just such a big example of that. And what a honor to the mentorship of Jack and LaLanne and the legacy that's there. I'm thrilled to have been there, I got to tell you. And thrilled for my memorial short, my shirts that I have, and we'll be there next time.
I look.
old dog new tricks. I mean, you couldn't miss that.
The thing is, I keep telling people this old dog still got some new tricks coming, so I'm ready for more. Yeah, it's not over; it's just getting started. And I will say something, Dan,
There you go.
a little extension of what you had made. You made a comment earlier about age being just a number, but
Yeah.
I honestly believe that age is so much more than just a number. Because if we limit it to that, it doesn't bring in that age is experiential knowledge, age is opportunity, age is a gift from God because it's more time to do amazing things and make an impact and pass things along that we have learned. And Dan, you have been a mentor to me. Jack was a mentor to both of us, and we continue to pass this legacy on. And I just can't wait to keep passing it on because we've got so much more to do.
Age is as I age, you know, I at 60, I said, "Oh, life begins at 60." I wrote my first book, and I thought, and all of a sudden, I'm going around the country with my first book. I mean, the Today Show calls me; they want me on because I'm 60 years old when I wrote this book, and so I mean, I had a ball. So when people say, "Oh, I'm 60 and I'm getting old," I said, "You're not getting old." And so I said, life begins at 60, life begins at 70, life begins at 80. No, life's going to be next year in March, life is going to be starting at 100.
That's right. Way to go. I agree.
Old.
And what a blessing and what a gift from God to give you
Amen.
100 years of experiential knowledge and a blessing to us to be able to be a part of your journey. And it's just a blessing.
And never stop learning. That's what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll be all by myself and I say, "Oh, I just learned something new," and it's
Right.
exciting. I don't care how old you get, but if you look at life the other way, the opposite way, and you think, "Oh, I'm just old. I'm so old." I could do that. I don't. I've got a bad bum leg. Bone on bone. I can't I'm blind in this eye. I've got macular degeneration, and I've got, all these things are happening to me at this age. But I'm determined. I'll find a way. There's
Well, hey,
always a way.
Elaine, tell people, because I think this is important too. What are the three things when you wake up in the morning?
Someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. And those are the three things that's life, you know.
Right. I
So,
think the other thing that takeaway brings to mind, another one, there's hindsight, foresight, and sight. And I always
yeah.
say life is a windshield,
Well,
not a
that's a good
mirror.
one. Yeah.
That's and so when you take a look at hindsight's good for think about it. Foresight is good, but sight's the best because here you right now at this moment we have a time to be here with each other and to embrace the moment. My mom always said, "Bloom where you're planted," and I hope that all of America could hear this and hear the words of both you, Greg, and Lala, because you're
And
such an inspiration.
you're coming up with some good stuff there.
Well, as you
Well,
know, it's probably all things that we've heard before from someone else who is very gifted and
well, we're,
very
we're
wise.
all we all learn from somebody, where there's always
That's
somebody,
right.
and people learn from you, then they go on and pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. So that's what we're all about. Pass it on.
Right.
It's a pretty simple message, and as long as we continue to pass it on, generations going forward will know of these amazing lessons that we learned from Jack and Elaine.
Any
Thank you.
parting words? I'm sure, Greg, we're probably coming to an end of this podcast, as I wish it weren't over, but any other words of thoughts or from you, and certainly Lala, anything, but
Yeah, well, I'll start because I think the final word should definitely be Lala. I'll just say that, this old dog still got a lot left in the tank. So don't count him out. Don't think this was the apex because this was just the beginning and there's a lot more to come. Keep an eye because that buzzer is in my future.
Well, there's a lot more to come from Dan, and he's got so much to share with everyone. His passion is public health and fitness, and me, I'm still always looking forward to something to do. I always have a project, and I hope that each and one of you, every one of you, will remember this. Always have a project, something to do, someone to love, something to look forward to.
well, that's as good as it gets. Love your neighbors yourself and do exactly what Lala says.